So once you've hired a member of the data science team and they show up on their first day of work, it's important that you have a system in place so that they can quickly get into the flow. This is a way to waste a lot of time if there's not a good system for them to get all of the support and the help that they need to get up and running as quickly as possible and really start helping your organization as fast as they can. So the onboarding process usually starts with an initial meeting. So this should be with whoever their manager is, and they should go over an overview of their position, what the expectations are, in particular, what are the projects that you'd like to have them complete, who they're supposed to interact with, and at what time scale, and are you going to start those interactions, or do they need to go and start those interactions themselves, giving them the contact information of any of the people that they need to be in contact with throughout the entire process. And then establishing any sort of policies. So often it makes a lot of sense to set up policies for how you're going to interact with the internal team. How are you going to communicate with them? What's okay and what's not okay in terms of feedback and review. The same sort of thing for external interaction. So how are you going to interact with other people? Is that all going to flow through the management of the data science team, or is that going to be embedding people briefly in other teams during the week? And how are they going to communicate with them? All of that needs to be laid out, ideally in a short initial meeting where they actually get all of that information sort of compressed. It's really ideal if that information can be stored somewhere internally on a departmental or a level that they can communicate with, whether it's a website or some kind of document that's distributed so that they actually can always have a reference for who they should be contacting, how they should be acting, and so forth. So that's the ideal way to make sure that they always have that information available to them. The next step is usually human resources, so they need to get set up with payroll, they need to get set up with benefits, any kind of documentation they need. So this isn't really part of the data science process, but it is always a step that needs to happen in the onboarding process for people. Then the next thing that needs to happen is introductions. And so that person might have interviewed and you might even be aware that they're showing up, but it's really good to have that person be able to go around and put a face to the name for all the people within the data science team. So this is ideal if you can, as the manager, can go and take them from place to place, introduce them to all the data science team, make sure that they get to know them, they have a few minutes to talk, and so that everybody knows who the new member of the team is. You also might want to introduce them to their external points of contact, whatever external units they'll be working with or collaborators they'll be working with. Make sure that you do a direct introduction of them so that everyone knows the new person is here, the new data scientist or data engineer, who they're going to be interacting with, how to contact those people, how you want that process to work. If you sort of initiate that yourself, then it makes it a little bit smoother for them to know where to go in the organization if that's all sort of outlined right from the beginning, right from the get-go. Another thing that all data scientists or data engineers will need is equipment and communications. So often they'll either have a computer or you need to get them a computer associated with the activity of what they're going to be doing. Let them know what software is available for them to install, what their purchasing limits are in terms of organizing how they can get software. You also need to let them know how to interact with your global infrastructure. How do they do data polls? What's their username? How do they interact with sort of the global infrastructure and the hardware that you have? Ideally, again, you have documentation for this, whether it's a PDF or some other documentation that you can give them, share with them through the internal communication channels that shows them, okay, here's where all the data is stored, here's the kind of database we're using, here's the way to pull data out of that database, sort of tutorials and introductions so that they can immediately get up and running without having to go and ask 100 questions of the data engineer. Okay, where is the data? What's the data set stored under? What's the sort of framework under which we're storing all this stuff? And then get them set up on communication channels that are useful for you. So some organizations like to just communicate by email or through chat or through something like Slack where they communicate with each other as a team. And so it's important that you get them set up and running on whatever the communication channel is, the one that your organization particularly focuses on. And so after you've got their equipment set up and you've got them sort of ready to go, the best thing to do with any data scientist or data engineer is to set them up with an initial problem. So obviously what you'd like is that this person can come in and immediately start having an impact and immediately identify all of the problems your organization might need to have solved. But that usually never happens. Each organization is a little bit quirky. They have particular problems that they care about and that they don't care about. And so the best way to get somebody up and running immediately is to start them on a finite, concrete project right away. So This might be for a data scientist, it might be an analysis that is just a small analysis that they can work on just right away that day. They can already start asking questions, they can already start interacting with people. Ideally, it's a short duration project so that they can just get up to speed, they can kind of get started on something, they can get their feet wet. It's the same sort of thing for data engineers or data science managers. You want to give them a short, concrete project that they can use to sort of as a jump start. So obviously you're going to want them to work on larger scale projects. They might have long-term projects that you're going to want them to work on. But if they get something under their belt right away, that's a solution that they can present, first of all, it gives them a lot of confidence. Second of all, it's the best way, the absolute best way to get them integrated into a team is to have them working on a project right away. So the first thing that you do is you give them that initial project along with all the other sort of documentation that you need, and then you turn them loose.